This is 5 running backs I'm going to bench heading into week 9. And the first one's Ezekiel Elliott. I also told you to buy him low, but this week I do not like the matchup at all versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. The last 2 weeks, Elliott's been a train wreck for the Dallas Cowboys and fantasy owners with 6 points and then 8 last week. And the problem, he's going to have no quarterback once again this week. Dalton at least is a little serviceable, but this week he's going to have Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush behind center. And we saw last week with Ben DiNucci, the Eagles, they loaded the box up, and Zeke, he just couldn't get much room. They even lined him up in the Wildcat 3 or 4 times, and that didn't work. And this week it's going to be more of the same for Elliott, and he's got a way tougher opponent on defense in the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are the best team in the league, giving up the least amount of fantasy points to running backs. So this is a horror show of a matchup for Zeke. His offensive line, still 3 out of the 5 starters are out. It's just not going to work out good for Zeke and the Cowboys. And once again, we could see Zeke score anywhere from 6 to 8 points because he's not going to do much. So 6 to 8 could be another game for Zeke with that quarterback's behind the line. So he's a guy I'm staying away from. The second guy is Jonathan Taylor, a guy that a lot of owners wanting to dump. I've seen now after a horrible performance and Wilkins getting 20 carries last week. So Taylor this week, even if he does play, I wouldn't start him. He's got a horrible matchup versus another high-powered defense in the Baltimore Ravens. And Taylor, he might have just lost his touches in that backfield for now as the rookie running back. I had high hopes for Taylor, but he only had 3 good games out of 6 right now. So Taylor, he's got a hard matchup. Wilkins emerged from the backfield this week. He was a top pickup, like I said in the waiver videos. And now it looks like a 3-headed monster back there. Timeshare in the backfield for Indianapolis. But this week, I'm not starting any of my Colts running backs unless I got no choice with buys or in a deep league. But anyway, just bench Jonathan Taylor. But I also would try to buy low on him because I think he could reemerge in the next few weeks with easy matchups and health if that ankle gets healthier. The third running back, David Montgomery. He's a guy I just don't like him at all, and he don't get the job done for what the carries and touches he gets. Last week, again, we saw him get a monster workload with 23 touches is Montgomery, and he didn't do much with it. He only had 12.5 fantasy points, and that's pretty much been his ceiling all year, 10 to 13 fantasy points. And with a guy with this workload, that's not good, but obviously he's good for a number 2 running back. But his upside is not that great. His ceiling ain't that great, but his floor is pretty good. But this week he versus a Tennessee Titan team, which I don't like the matchup. Nick Foles, he hasn't looked good, even though Robinson and Mooney had good ball games last week. But Tennessee, they're going to try to make Foles beat them, and they're going to load that box and stop Montgomery. So this week, if I have better options, David Montgomery is definitely a guy I'm going to try to bench. The next guy is Le'Veon Bell. People going crazy about Bell in this Kansas City offense. And last week was supposed to be a revenge game for Bell versus his former team, the New York Jets. And Bell, he fell short. He had a horrible ball game. 6 carries for 7 yards and 3 catches for 31 yards. So Bell, if it was a PPR league, he only had 7 points. And I think we're going to see more of the same this week versus Carolina. Bell, he might have lost his explosiveness. He didn't look fast in this game. He was trying that patient run. It didn't work out. But him and Hilaire, pretty much it's a 50-50 split. But Hilaire's the running back I want in that backfield in Kansas City. That year off might have hurt Bell more than it helped him because he don't look like the same Bell in Pittsburgh in the last year and a half now. So Le'Veon Bell, I would bench him, man. I'd rather start even a Jordan Wilkins over him at this point, because his workload is going to be there, Bell. He's in an explosive offense, but he don't look explosive at all. And I don't think he's going to get the job done, is Le'Veon Bell. And the fifth and final running back's Ronald Jones, another running back in a timeshare with Leonard Fournette. And last week we saw Ronald Jones. He looked good in the first few possessions, and then that fumble late in the first quarter got him benched until the second half. And then Leonard Fournette out-touched Ronald Jones 15-7. But the only good thing with that, Leonard Fournette, he didn't have a great game. He finished with 10 fantasy points, but that's mostly because of his catching out of the backfield. So if Jones could come out there and get his carries and have a better game than Fournette, I think he could retake the lead in the backfield. But for this week versus New Orleans Saints, I think it's going to be a Tom Brady type of game with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin probably back, Gronkowski, and then trying to fit Antonio Brown back in the offense. So Ronald Jones, I'm going to stay away from him. I don't know what we could expect from him. Leonard Fournette, he already has that third down role in there, and who knows if Jones is still going to be in the doghouse of Bruce Arians after fumbling versus the Giants. So he'll be the final running back I'm going to bench this week going into week 9.